And we are back on the Premier League that took place midweek. A Premier League that went from Tuesday, February 10, to today, Thursday, February 12th. The Premier League took place midweek for match day 26. We see a Premier League that makes me want to say, like Patrice Evra says it, I love this game. We see a Premier League where now Arsenal leads only by 4 points and pressure mounts on. Manchester City, they capitalize on that and the pressure is on. Manchester City win on a commanding 3-0 against Fulham. A standout performance from Antoine Semenyo and a clinical finish from Erling Haaland in that game. And in the bottom half of the table, we see Burnley, who pulled off a result of the week with a stunning 3-2 comeback against Crystal Palace to end their 16-match winless drought. While Liverpool, Aston Villa both secure narrow 1-0 wins to stay firm in the European hunt. But this Premier League is getting competitive now. Now the question to ask that everybody's been asking is, will Arsenal bottle it? Pressure is on. For sure, I cannot say they will. But when it comes to the last 5 games of this Premier League, I will most likely have an answer. Sure that I will have an answer. But at the moment, pressure mounts on the Gunners. Pressure is on Arsenal. All it takes is to tie another game or lose a game. That's all it takes. But this week, we see a Premier League, and there will be no Premier League on the weekend. It will be FA Cup taking place. But let's jump right into this to see what went on in this Premier League match day 26. We will jump right into this match day 26 of the Premier League. And we have a Premier League that started with Chelsea against Leeds. A game that ended 2-2. Joao Pedro, Cole Palmer, they gave Chelsea the 2-goal cushion. But in second half, strikes from Lucas Emeka and Noah Okafor earned Leeds a hard-fought draw. The result highlighted Chelsea's ongoing defensive lapses as they remain 5th in the standings in the Premier League. Leeds' late heroics provide a significant boost to their survival hopes. As we know, they're in the bottom of the table. And in this game, we see that it was a survival. It was a significant boost to the survival hopes of Leeds, securing a vital point away from home. And one of the main things about this game is Palmer's 6-yard shot that was most likely the winner. This came down to be a shocker. And listen, it happens. It happens. It happens. We haven't seen one of these in a while. But it's a shocker because, as we know, it's Cole Palmer. A great player with great technicality. 6-yard box. Shocker. But it happens. Not often, but it happens. And yet, so close, yet so far for Cole Palmer on the opportunity. And another thing that has been on the talks is this Cole Palmer has been on the scoring sheet, but mostly through the penalty. That's one of the main reasons why Cole Palmer has been on the score sheet. And as a lot of people say, a goal is a goal. It helps your team. It helps you rack up the tally. Keep on pushing, boy. But Chelsea's defense looks frail and not too secure at times. That has been an ongoing problem since the beginning of the season. They have great players, but sometimes some teams are so focused from the midfield up. I believe that teams, defenders more than anything, have to practice small strategies to be more physical, more challenging, knowing when to do certain type of things in the defense to not let the opponent capitalize. But there's still a lot left to this Premier League, and a Chelsea that is currently on 5th place and a Leeds that is currently on the 15th place as of match day 26. Then we move on to an Everton against a Bournemouth that won as visitors 2-1 against Everton, and Everton that took an early lead through Iliamin and Diaye, but Bournemouth fought back to win after Jacob Ryan was sent off for the host. Goals from Ryan and Adli capitalized on the man advantage to secure the 3 points for the visitors. The defeat leaves Everton frustrated in mid-table while Bournemouth climbs into the top 10. And Everton has now received 4 red cards this season. Only Chelsea has received more. And this defeat extends Everton's winless run at home and worrying the trends for David Moyes as they aim for European football. Everton is currently in the 8th place. And we have a Bournemouth that is in the 9th place. Then moving on, we have a Tottenham against a Newcastle. A Tottenham that loses at home 2-1 against Newcastle. Newcastle triumph in London as Malik Thiaw and Jacob Ramsey score either side of an Archie Gray strike from the host. The defeat proved catastrophic for Spurs, who slipped 16 places in the table after a dismal run of form. And immediately following the match, Tottenham announced the sacking of head coach Thomas Frank. And as we've seen, statistics nowadays, they spread quick. Numbers is a numbers game now. And yes, Thomas Frank has one of the worst records as a Tottenham manager. His position was on doubt since match week 13. Match week 13. So think about that. He went on with 13 games from match day 13 to match day 26. That is 13 games, 13 match days, getting results that only sunk the team. And it's understandable that, yes, 11 injuries will add to the tally of losses. 11 injuries, a lot of major players for Tottenham, that will add to the tally. And it's understandable. But you have to seek for answers. And again, this is a professional sport. It takes time for teams to build chemistry, mostly between players. And when you add a new piece to the squad, you have to give that piece, that player, time in the game, not only practice. Practice is one thing. Practice is knowing where your teammate will be, what you have to do as a player, as a team. But when you play the game against the adversary, the pressure puts you in a different level. At that point, chemistry has to kick up. So it's understandable putting new pieces in the game. And not only Tottenham has 11 injuries already that added to this tally of losses, but they also have another blow, another player that goes on to the injury list. So it's not easy. It's not easy for Thomas Frank. It's not easy for Tottenham fans more than anything. They've been backing up this team. They have been frustrated. But it's time for change, yes. But the problem is this Tottenham organization is once you point at the people in charge in the organization, you become a target yourself. For those that follow me on social media, once Thomas Frank pointed out that there was an issue in the organization, he became a target. He himself became a target. Any manager that points out that there are problems with the people who manage the organization, that is an automatic sack. No person in charge likes to be told what they are doing wrong. And that's just a part of business. At the end of the day, this is a beautiful game, but it's a numbers game, so it becomes a business. A numbers game becomes a business. And when you point out to those in charge what they are doing wrong, you become a target. Whether you're doing your job right, whether you're doing your job wrong, or whether you're just doing your job, if you point something out, you become a target. And that's exactly what Thomas Frank became. A target, easy pickings. Right after that loss, that's all they needed. Just assured that he had to go. But Tottenham seems himself now almost close in the relegation zone. We have a Tottenham that is in the 16th place with 29 points. And then we have a Newcastle that is in the 10th place. Tottenham is just 2 positions away from the relegation. They are 5 points away from relegation. Tottenham is going through a hard time at the moment. And former coach Staglio said Tottenham is not a big club. He's able to say that because he was part of this organization. When you want to compete with the big clubs, your mentality has to be like the big clubs. But some teams nowadays don't want to spend. And yes, nobody wants to spend, but sometimes you have to if you actually want a serious, real return on investment. But for this Tottenham, they see themselves now in a crucial point in the season. 5 points from relegation, now fighting to not drop any more points, and any points they can scrap now really matters. But moving on, we go to a West Ham United against a Manchester United, a game that ended 1-1. Thomas Souček, historic 39th Premier League goal, put West Ham ahead. But Benjamin Sesko had different plans. He scored in the 96th minute, the equalizer that snatched a draw for Manchester United, who are 5 games unbeaten. They find 4 wins, 1 tie in the last 5 games. They have gone 5 games unbeaten. United remain unbeaten under interim manager Carrick, despite the lackluster offensive performance at London Stadium. The late goal was a heartbreak for the Hammers, of course, as we saw for those that watched that game. As soon as Manchester United score, West Ham players lost and showed the emotion in shock. But the Hammers remain in the relegation. They are the first spot in the relegation. What do I mean by that? They are in 18th place. They have the chance to get out of there, but they have to make sure they get the wins necessary, because we have a Nottingham Forest who is just 3 points above. And in Manchester United, that of course keeps himself in 4th place. But in this game, Manchester United ties it thanks to a man that has been showing up in the past few games, Šeško. He needs to play more. He's a lethal number 9. The goal in the last few minutes was a slick goal. He knows how to get himself in position just right to do an accurate touch to get the goal. It was not a whirly, but it was a slick positioning, knowing how to get himself in that position to get the goal and give this Manchester United a tie. Yes, it was a rough start. Yes, it takes time for you to get yourself used to the game, the game plan, get chemistry with your teammates. But Šeško has been getting goals for either wins or ties, just to rescue something that Manchester United need, which is wins or ties. And on another topic for this Manchester United have caretaker Carrick, who is having a great start, for wins, 1 tie. If the team continues like this, why look for another manager? Is there no confidence in Carrick? Yes, we understand that he's just a caretaker, but he's having a great start. Yes, they tie against a West Ham, who is not having the best season, but he's having a great start. The players are showing up. They are playing to his demands. What he asks for, the players are doing, because 4 wins and a tie, and his numbers at the moment are backing him up. The numbers are backing Carrick up at the moment. Of course, at the moment, we still have to see how this Premier League plays out. But let's think theoretically. If Carrick ends up doing well, getting European football, and taking this team from where he did in Matchday 21, and he's able to move this team forward, competing, breathing down the opponent's neck at the top, why not leave him? Why tell him that he can show up if he wants to be a candidate in the people that Manchester United are looking at? Why? Is there no confidence? Is he not doing a good job enough? He's already at the job. If he just finishes well and gets European football, he has something to build on. But this is how football works. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game, which becomes a business. But if the answer is there, why go somewhere else? Carrick is a legend in the club. Carrick knows what is to be a Manchester United player. As a player, he had the character. He had what it was needed, and all he has to do is translate it to the players he currently has. And yes, so far, of course, yet so far, he's doing that. He is translating that to this team. He's bringing back that old United. Not 100%, but we see small sparks of this old United, the mentality of this old United that a lot of us that grew up seeing legends like him, we can accept that this Man United is getting themselves back in there, but that's more of a organization problem. How far will they let this go? All depends on the organization at the end of the day. But the answer, if he finishes well, is there. And if he doesn't, then yes, look at other candidates. But at the moment, of course, Carrick is pushing this wagon. Then moving on, we have an Aston Villa against a Brighton. And Aston Villa that wins by the minimum. 1-0. A tense encounter in Villa Park was decided by an 85th minute winner from Mings. But Jack Hinshelwood had a touch to count it as an own goal. The victory maintains Villa's stronghold in third place and keeps them firmly on the Champions League qualification spots. Brighton's inability to capitalize on possession sees them stay in the bottom half of the table. Then at the same time, we have a James Milner that makes history. Veteran James Milner came off the bench to make his 653rd Premier League appearance, officially equaling Gareth Barry's all-time record. Fittingly, he reached this milestone at the home of one of his former clubs. Milner has played with players from 1968. That is a milestone. He has played with some great players, and he has played against some great players. Longevity. That is longevity. You have to take care of yourself. You have to focus. You have to keep pushing. And in a footballer's life, hard times always come by. Injuries are one of the hardest things a footballer can face. But it's not about how you got knocked down. It's about how you get up and respond to the situation. But Milner makes history. He makes history, and now he is in the history books as one of the top players with the most appearances in a historic league that is the Premier League. We have an Aston Villa that is in third place, and we have a Brighton that is in the 14th place. Then moving on, we have a Manchester City against the Fulham. A Manchester City that wins 3-0, more than comfortable. A Manchester City that wins at home 3-0. Manchester City secured a dominant home win. First half goals from Antonio Semenyo, Nico O'Reilly, and Erling Haaland. The match was clouded by injury concerns for Haaland, who was substituted shortly after scoring his 22nd goal of the campaign. This victory keeps Pep Guardiola's side within 3 points of the league leaders, but as we know, this game took place yesterday. Arsenal played today. It was a 3-point gap. Since Arsenal tie, it becomes a 4-point gap. But Manchester City now are putting their foot on the gas. This is going to become a league of who gets the jitters. The pressure is on. But Pep has gotten himself a more fluid team. Steadiness in the back with Margui, and getting Diaz back is a plus. You know, you got Donnarumma, of course. That yes, sometimes he has been beaten, but he's doing his thing. Donnarumma is doing his thing. The threat to Arsenal and challenge for the Premier League is there. It's just about if this Manchester City can keep themselves on a good rhythm, where, yes, due to playing too much, fatigue, tiredness, that can get to you, but they gotta keep themselves on a good rhythm, keep putting pressure, play their game. And seeing this game against Fulham, it looks like they look more steady in the back. The second game by O'Reilly, it was a counter-attack with fluidity. It came about coming from the back, easy movements through the midfield, opening the game. O'Reilly ends up opening left. Semenyo pulls him through, and the goal came about, which was a nice goal by O'Reilly. But the pressure for Arsenal is on. Manchester City, who is in second place with 53 points, and a Fulham that is in the 12th place. Then moving on, we have a Nottingham Forest against a Wolves. We have a Nottingham Forest against a Wolves. A game that ended tied. A lackluster clash between two struggling sides ended in a goalless stalemate at City ground. Nottingham Forest dominated possession but failed to break down the Wolves' defense that sits at the bottom of the league. A Nottingham Forest that had 35 shots. 35 shots in this game. But following the draw, Forest sacked their manager, Sean Dyche, making them the first team this season to change managers 3 times and have 4 different managers in 1 year. But this is what football has come down to. Owners, investors, they want answers. They want their investment to come back quick. It's 38 games, but if you don't win 5, and if you lose more than 5, tie 5, you catch yourself on a rope, on threat. And owners want wins, even if the manager in charge is having a better statistical percentage than the other managers that they had in charge. Sean Dyche, that, this was his club. It's a boyhood club. He was in this team. There was and there is a connection to this Nottingham Forest. But it's Sean Dyche that had a 47.1% win percentage. But it didn't matter. Some people have to be realistic and know that it takes time for a project to take off. But investors want fast investment. And it's hard. It's really hard nowadays in football. If you really look at it, it's really hard when you have owners singularly dealing with managers. The owners of these clubs want results. They want return and investment. You hiring somebody as a club manager, as a club owner, you want your team to win. The wins mean you are competing. That means you are challenging for the title. That means you are putting hard times to these other big clubs that are coming along the way for this title. That's what winning means. But at the same time, you have to stop and think. You have to shift things in the team, change the mentality, acquire new players, let go of certain players, build a chemistry, build a consistency, not have much injuries. These are all things that matters into the process of you as a new manager picking up a team that might be mid-season, beginning of the season, end of the season. These are all things that matter when you pick up a team, but owners do not care. They just want wins. They just want wins. It takes time for a project to take off again, but investors want the fast investment return, and that shows there is no patience. There is no patience in this game of football nowadays. In football, it takes at least 1 to 2 years for a project to show that it's working. By the third year, you should be getting results. You should be getting results will put you top. But if it's not taking, if it's not taking off, then the answers by the end of by the mid of that 30 year of a manager, the answers will be there if it's not taking off. But it takes 1 to 2 years. Realistically, it takes 1 to 2 years. Realistically. And for some, it takes 1. It takes 2, and that's it. But it takes 1 to 2 years for a project to start showing fruit. By the third year, you should start already being a challenge in a league. But owners want return on investment as soon as these coaches have 5 games, 7 games, 10 games. And if you're not steady, out the door you go. But we have a Nottingham Forest that is in the 17th place, just 3 points above relegation, and a Wolves that is still stuck in the bottom of the table. A Wolves that projecting they will be going to the championship. They are going relegated. It's looking rough for Wolves too. But moving on, we have a Crystal Palace against Burnley. A Crystal Palace that loses at home 3-2 against Burnley. And Georgian Strand Lancer score a brace to lead Burnley to a vital victory. And in a 5-goal thriller at Selhurst Park, despite Palace finding the net through Hannibal Mergy and Jefferson Lerma, Burnley clinical finish ensure they took all 3 points. The win offers Burnley a glimmer of hope in the relegation battle, though they remain 19th place. Despite the loss, Strand Larsen became the only third player to score a brace on his home Premier League debut. And Palace is now winless in their last 8 home matches at Selhurst Park. And the winless streak ends for Burnley. The victory ended a grueling 16-game winless run in the Premier League for Scott Parker's side. We have a Burnley that is in the 19th place and a Crystal Palace that is in the 13th place. Crystal Palace are facing a rough time, even though they acquired a new weapon up front. They see Mateta injured. Mateta, who had an amazing season last season, and it was still having steadiness at the beginning of this season now. And, in the last 3 match days, there is transfer talks. He goes missing, and then we find out that he has a knee injury that has to be treated. No surgery needed, but it will take a while for him to recoup. Then moving on, we have a Sunderland against a Liverpool. A Liverpool that wins as visitors by the minimum 1-0. Virgil van Dijk Second half headers secure a narrow away win for Liverpool against the resilient Sunderland side. The Stadium of Light hosted a highly competitive clash, but the defending champions finally broke the deadlock in the 60th minute. Liverpool continues to chase European qualification, while Sunderland remains 11th place. Sunderland has been competing. Sunderland has been going at it. Liverpool is in 6th place, keeping their eyes on European football. But, this defeat ended Sunderland's incredible 14th match unbeaten at home run. And they were the only team that was not beaten at home. And finally, Liverpool comes to their home and boom. And that was a 14th match unbeaten home run for Sunderland in all competitions. The win was a little bit bittersweet for Arne Slot. The midfielder Wataru Endo, he was deputizing as right back, as we've seen in some games, but he was stretched off in the second half. A lot of things happen in football. Injuries are part of them, and when you're playing so much, it's just prone to happen. I always say it. I will always say it because in the past 3-4 years, we see that football has become a sport where players are expected to perform every 2 days. Every 2 days on average. Before you had 3 to 4 days, which is more time for your body to recuperate. But every 2 days will take a toll on your body. It will create fatigue, tiredness, and make you prone to muscle injuries, ankles, knees. But these are things that in reality players have to deal with in today's football. Then moving on, we have a Brentford against an Arsenal, a game that ended tied 1-1. Arsenal and Brentford played out a heartful 1-1 draw at the Gtech Community Stadium. Despite Arsenal's dominance in possession, Brentford paved the more dangerous side in with expected goals. They played the more dangerous side with expected goals, forcing a critical late save from David Raya to prevent a defeat. This result sees Arsenal lead top of the Premier League table, shrink to 4 points over Manchester City, intensifying the title race as the season enters its final stretch. This was just match day 26. Now you technically only have 12 games left. And this was only the second time this season Arsenal failed to win after scoring first. Arsenal recorded 0 shots on target in the first half, highlighting a rare lack of creativity that Mikel Arteta attributed to a jittery defensive performance. And then, you have Brentford that has adapted, even though they have had big names leave the team. And if they keep playing this way, they can definitely compete for European football. Brentford can definitely compete for European football. We have Arsenal that is in the first place, and we have Brentford that is in the 7th place. Only 2 points from Liverpool. A Brentford that is only 2 points from Liverpool and is only 4 points away from European football. But this Premier League starts to get tight. Arsenal starts to see the pressure. The pressure is going on Arsenal now. Will they bottle it? Who knows? But pressure is definitely mounting on Arsenal's neck. But in this match day 26, We see the Premier League title race tighten significantly as Arsenal's lead was cut to 4 points following a greedy 1-1 draw at Brentford. Manchester City ruthlessly capitalized on this slip, dismantling, Fulham 3-0 with goals from Semenyo, O'Reilly, and Haaland to ramp up the pressure on the Gunners. Then we have an Aston Villa that solidified their top 4 credentials with a narrow 1-0 over Brighton. While mid-table rivals Chelsea and Leeds share the spoils in its retaining 2-2 draw. The standout result of the weekend occurred at Selhurst Park, where Burnley ended their 16th match winless drought by overturning a 2-0 deficit to beat Crystal Palace 3-2 in a dramatic comeback. Finally, Bournemouth continued their impressive form by securing a 2-1 away victory at Everton to keep themselves in the top half of this Premier League. Then we will not see Premier League on this weekend. The FA Cup will take place. The FA Cup round 4 is taking place this weekend from February 13 to February 16. So we will not see Premier League this weekend until February 21st to February 23rd. Arsenal will play against Wolves on February 18th for the Premier League. This Premier League is starting to create tension. Arsenal fans, I know you're feeling it. I know you are feeling it. All it takes is another tie or just a loss, and the game is on. The game will be on. That's all it takes. But this is all for today. Thank you for those that are usually here. And this is Pase Ambidiestro. Ambidextrous pass. Fútbol honestamente. Soccer. Football honestly. Thank you. Have a great night. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good one, guys. Thank you.